All right, this week's episode, we've got the old boy, Tim Montana, in studio. So stoked to sit down with Tim. We talk a little bit about how me and him met, what he's got upcoming tour-wise. We obviously talk about the world-famous Wise River Club and so much in between. Hope you enjoy. Man, you hear that? Look at here. They're coming. They're coming. We're going to have a party. I'm talking good on barbecue. Welcome to this week's edition of the Old Boy Podcast. I'm your host, Chad Ward, and we have the other old boy with us. No introduction needed. Tim Montana, welcome to the studio, old boy.
Thanks for having me. It's good to be on this side of a prison cell for the first time in 6 months and 31 days, old boy.
Oh, god dang, old boy. Got you just out in time for touring season. I like it. You must have a hell of a good lawyer.
Oh, yeah. Prison sex is exhausting, but worth it.
All right, as you guys can tell, this is going to be an hour of nothing but tomfoolery and hell of a good time.
Someone ain't getting canceled. I ain't going.
So we got Tim with us. For you guys that know, Tim and I have been buddies, golly, going on close to a decade now.
Yeah,
and
wild.
I think that would actually be a great place to start this conversation.
How we met?
It's how.
Oh, God.
This is a good one.
When we renew our vows, we'll have to do this as well.
So the interesting thing, so I worked with Traeger for 2 years, like as a 1099 employee, taking all my vacation time from software and doing trade shows and this and that. And then they offered me an opportunity as a full-time employee. And I was starting July 14th of 2016. Had to do that quick math in my head. You impressed?
Wow, it's almost been 10 years.
Yeah. And there was an event like July 2nd or 3rd before my official start date in Nashville called Shred-A-Geddon.
That's right.
It was going to be a big 4th of July bash, Tim Montana's house, and everybody was super excited because Tim was new on board and this new up-and-coming artist, and guy likes to have a good time, likes to cook. He's from Montana. How can you not know how to grill? Let's go have a great time out there. Hey, Chad, do you mind going out 2 weeks early and meeting this guy and checking this out? And the Traeger crew that was there for that event, the only two that are still there, myself and Doug Barlow.
That's right. Doug was there, man.
Doug, quite an accomplished guitarist himself. Hell of a photographer.
He rocked the Wise River Club, too, I gotta say.
Yeah. And so the thing that's, it's kind of funny, we get there a day before, and we cooked a hog for it. And I remember the rumbling inside of Traeger were, man, not only are we doing this event, but, man, Kid Rock may show up. Wow. You know what I mean? And so get there to the event. I got there early, met Tim, Brian Wolf at the time.
Yeah, the original. Kyle Reif was in the band.
Kyle Reif.
Bryce back when Paul.
Yeah, Kyle Reif is an actual artist and not a Wise River Club assistant manager, whatever we're calling him now.
Yeah.
And who else do we have there? Who was the other?
Rob O'Neill.
Well, no, who was the other band member?
Bryce.
Paul. Yeah. We don't talk about him much. He wasn't real memorable. Sorry, Bryce.
He's totally watching this. Yes, you are.
No, Bryce was awesome. He was a great guy. Solid dude. And then we had Rob O'Neill and a lot of other guests that came by. And so literally, and I think Tim can tell you, like, from the time I walked in the house, you know, it was like I'd known him my whole life. I'd known the guys my whole life. Danielle. At that time, we only had, 2 in the brood?
2 kids?
Yeah.
Yeah, Jesus.
Yeah.
That was right when she was still putting out.
And man, we were just having a good time. Great time. Good turnout, you know.
Oh, we had over 100 people in that backyard, didn't we?
Yeah.
And it's not a big backyard.
No, and you had the backyard all set up. You had your orange amps, the whole 9 yards. I mean, we were going to put on a concert, old son.
We did. And
so, you know, Traeger, we're all excited. We're having a good time. Everybody's eating, drinking. Tim and them are about to are playing. And Tim are we going to tell that part of the story?
I don't know. That's your call.
All right. So long story short, Traeger's live streaming the event. And we had a situation or two that maybe a brand wouldn't want on live stream.
Correct.
And so the live stream ended. And, you know,
and for the first time ever, it didn't come out of my mouth.
No, it did not come out of your mouth. Let's get that part right.
That's what she said. That one did.
And so the rest of the Traeger team's like, oh man, we're gonna go back to the hotel, work on this, like, do you mind staying here? It seems like you're getting along really well with this group. And I was like, dude, I wasn't going back to the hotel anyway. They're like, well, we can come back and pick you up or whatever. I'm like, yeah, I think I Uber here. We'll be all right. I think I ended up staying at your house till like 2:30 in the morning.
Oh, yeah, the after party.
The after party. We just had a blast. But like from that, the next morning we came over, helped pick up. And like from that point on, man, we were just like game on. Like you're like, hey, dude, come out to the show, this and that.
Kid Rock did show up at that event.
He did.
And then to this day, everyone keeps talking about one of the members of Skid Row was there, and I still don't know who.
I don't either. I heard the same thing, but I was like, I don't know that I'd recognize anybody from Skid Row right now.
We're all looking around like, if you were in the band Skid Row, could you please raise your hand? When everybody's too blackout drunk, everyone raises their hand. It was a good party.
Come to find out it was just a roadie tech.
Kid Rock raises his hand. You're a liar. You were not in Skid Row.
Oh, man. And that, so we, so after that party, it was like, we just kind of hit it off. It was our chance to kind of get to know each other. And then, and that was, 8 years ago. Where was that at in career wise for you? Where was that at? I mean, you were doing a little bit of touring.
Yeah, I think we were starting to work with Kid Rock. We do a couple shows here and there. We did New Year's Eve with him multiple times. I think that was right about the time we were writing and recording like Hillbilly Rich, American Thread stuff.
Yeah, which that was a cool opportunity too. And that was the first time I got to like see a music video get filmed or anything of that nature.
That was because that was kind of the same cast of characters.
Yes, it was.
Rob, Street Bike Tommy. I know Street Bike Tommy was not at the backyard party, but he's the one that introduced me to Traeger. He's like, hey, dude, these guys will send you a grill, make content. I didn't know what making content even was. I just make dumb videos, and that was kind of my start to this brand ambassador world. Yeah. So that came from Street Bike Tommy because I met him in Butte, Montana through the Evil Knievel days thing. So. Well,
and guess who's going to be an upcoming guest on the podcast?
You get out of here, you son of a gun.
Street Bike Tommy already got him booked, old boy.
Oh, you better backflip a foam pit or I'm going to be pissed.
But no, Tommy is a great one. He brought Traeger, numerous guys. And I was talking to him just the other day, man. What a stand up. Just awesome, dude.
Oh, salt of the earth, man.
Absolutely. Done duck camp with us a couple times too.
That's right. He did deer camp with me. I got 86 from that deer camp. So now I just am stuck at duck camp.
So why did you get 86 from that deer camp?
Bad behavior. That's why Timmy don't send her no more. But every year they all go and take pictures, and I'm like, oh. And then I always get the same apology letter from the owner of the text every year. Hey, brother, we all love you, but remember that one time?
Remember that one time at Duck
I'm
Camp?
like, yeah. So do my AA buddies, son bitch.
Oh man! So going back to the Hillbilly Rich video, that was cool. Shot here in Florida. If you look very closely, there's a gloved hand that's slicing a prime rib in there. That's my first appearance in a music video. It's amazing.
God, I have screenshot that hand and I use it often.
But how cool is that? I mean, that was your first music video you had shot, right? Bunch of buddies.
Yeah, that was the first real one. We'd done like very kind of low budget ones, and then that was our first big budget. I mean, God, we went from low budget videos to helicopters, yachts, cheerleaders, Navy SEALs.
Yeah.
Like, it was wild.
It was
and the Craigs were amazing. They're actually turkey hunting right now. They paid for a turkey hunt at the American Thread Shoot. So
nice.
Sharon and Amy are in Nashville turkey hunting. So,
very cool. Yeah, very cool. But yeah, that was just super fun, and that's what's been fun for me as your buddy is kind of watching from that point to kind of where we're at now. I mean, now, you go back a little bit, you got to do that kick-ass, mostly stolen music video with Charlie Sheen. I mean, that's that story, you got to tell that one. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that one ultimately got me my record deal. It only took me 15 years to get a record deal. No big deal, son. Just too dumb to quit. Having too much fun.
The labels kept saying, shouldn't you be waiting tables by now? Like,
right.
no,
how is this guy still in town, and why is he doing something stranger than the last thing he did? It's probably everyone was just always like, intrigued, I guess is the word. But yeah, so Rob O'Neill is a Navy SEAL, retired from Butte, Montana, and he went and met Charlie Sheen, because a lot of Navy SEALs, I didn't know this, joined the Navy like Rob's there after they watched the movie Navy SEALs. They got inspired. So that is a great recruiting tool. Yeah. Charlie Sheen has recorded Charlie Sheen has recruited more SEALs than a lot. But so anyway, so he met Charlie. He told Charlie about me. Charlie checked out the Hillbilly Rich video and tweeted about it on his official Twitter account. My phone starts blowing up. Are you aware Charlie Sheen's tweeting about you? I'm like, no, this is wild. So I figure out it's the real Charlie. Get on the phone with him, take a trip to Los Angeles, pick up Billy Gibbons. Gets even weirder. Bring him to Charlie's house. Have an interesting evening there with those guys. And Charlie, I said, hey, man, I want you to direct this video. And he's like, well, I'm not really a director. I'm an actor. And I said, no, this would be great. And so he wrote the script, started sending it to me, and then ended up doing the music video. And the video went viral. And I remember someone in the Nashville scene said, hey, man, you're filming this video during a thing called CRS, Country Radio Seminar. And no one's going to come to Watertown and care about an independent artist. All the press is going to be in Nashville. You guys are an hour out of town. Sorry, you're not going to have any press show up. And I was like, oh, bummer, you're right. I guess no one's going to care. And the morning of, it looked like a movie with press vehicles pulling into Watertown, Tennessee. I mean, Entertainment Tonight, all these news outlets, and I'm sitting here going, "Oh boy, they were wrong."
Oh, you mean the local country station in Nashville's not going to come?
Right?
Okay, we're good.
Got it. Cool. They weren't invited, but yeah. So they showed up, and I remember my sister called me, and like between her 6 o'clock news in Houston, it's like Charlie Sheen and this artist no one's heard of are filming a music video, and she's watching the TV going, "What the fuck." Mommy, Timmy's on the TV. But yeah, so that video went wild and ultimately led me to sit down with Michael Knox and John Loba and sign my first major recording contract. That was about, what, 3-4 years ago?
Yeah.
Had to be.
Yep, about 4. And that to me was like super cool because I know that's something you'd fought for so long. You know what I mean? And you kind of hit on it earlier, too, in the fact that you said, just some other wild thing you had done. One thing me and you used to always talk about was we just didn't know that the country market knew how to handle you. Like,
right.
You weren't this, sappy bullshit, country that's out there now. You know what I mean? Pop country. That
right.
Totally is not your sound, totally not who you are. So I think between that and you're just an old boy, man. Like, you like to have a good time. You air it out. You have a blast. You know what I mean? And that was a little bit different. But I feel like, too, that's what made you unique. Like, go back to during these times when you're trying to get a record deal and those kind of things, you got to have, touring can only cover so much. You got to have other income streams. And you did it in a way that most artists haven't. Most artists don't make it and then start picking up brands. But you, on the come up, were like, dude, let me find these brands that mean something and resonate with me. And Traeger was a part of that. Black Rifle's been a huge part of that since the beginning. Numerous ones you worked with. Kicker Audio.
Yeah, Kicker Audios.
With those guys over there forever. Like, talk to me a little bit about your strategy behind that and kind of how that, and I know a lot of it wasn't a strategy. It was something you figured out you were good at. And I know a lot more brands kind of started reaching out.
Yeah, it was all pretty organic, and a lot of brands found me through Traeger. So I have to give you guys a big shout out. I remember Jerry from Snap-on Tools.
Yeah, that was a big one.
Yeah, they said, let's find the right guy to do the Snap-on Tools training videos and commercials that was kind of comedy. And I found myself wondering, am I the Billy Mays of music right now? Hi, I'm Tim Montana. Have you checked out this new soccer wrench? But all that money went back into the business that I knew was number one, which was music. Like, I never took, and I owe my wife a debt of gratitude because she's like, hey, I'll keep the lights on. You go figure out how to launch your music career. And so I was like, all right, you pay the power bill. I'm going to buy a Sprinter and pay my band with this side income. Yeah. But yeah, so Snap-on goes to TraegerGrills.com and scrolls through all their influencers and sees this whack job. I think I had a knife in my mouth.
Sauce all over your beard.
Sauce all over my beard. And they're like, this guy's a nutbag. He looks like the kind of guy that could sell tools to mechanics. Like, blue-collar people will listen to this guy.
Yeah.
And so they called me. No, they emailed me. They went to the website that said, weed and whiskey, mostly stoned. And we're like, oh, this is a good idea. Let's just email the info at timmontana.com or whatever it was. And that turned out to be...
Dude, you called... I remember when it came through, like, you called me. You're like, whoa, dude. Like, I think you got the email. You called Jerry. And then you called me and you're like, dude, this has been weird what's happened in the last hour. Let me tell you about it.
And they literally found me on Traeger Grills. So then they got me to do all their videos. I flew to, I think it was Milwaukee in the middle of winter, and went in this big film studio. And next thing I know, I'm on the side of all the Snap-on trucks around the country. If you go on the inside, it was the Master of the Pit campaign. And if you went on the inside of any Snap-on truck in the country, you saw pictures of my ugly mug with a Traeger. And then they gave away grills. And they ended up buying like a shit ton of Traeger grills. Yeah. So I was able to be like, hey, I don't know what I'm doing, but I just don't know what I am doing my way into selling a ton of grills for you guys and helping brand exposure on Snap-on and connecting those dots. And I think today Snap-on still works with you guys.
Still work with us, yeah.
And I was just kind of this weird goofball catalyst involved in that. That's how a lot of these deals have worked out. I didn't go like search them out. And so many artists call me and ask me how I did it, how I'm doing it. And I'm like, I'm just me, man. I pick up the phone. I try to think of some ideas, but there's no like magic recipe to that other than just being myself and, always under promise and over deliver, right? I know I can do this with confidence, but I'm going to try and do this, and this, and try to over deliver as much as possible. Make connection between the brands, but also work with the right brands. Like I'm not going to be, even though I have really pearly white teeth, do you like them? I'm probably not going to work with a tooth whitening company. Right. It's got to be old boy shit. Blue collar, grilling, mechanics. Does it go fast? Is it loud? I'm obnoxious. Is there a brand out there that's obnoxious? Because I'm obnoxious, that kind of stuff. Yeah. So,
guys, Tim Montana here. I'm a guest on the Old Boy podcast with Old Boy Ted Ward, and I'm talking about Whisker Bomb on there. So, what you got to do is go to whiskerbomb.com, put in the code Old Boy Podcast, and you'll get 15% off. Yes, I said it, 15% off. Good God Almighty, right? You kind of woody, old boy. Whiskerbomb.com, 15% off.
No, I've always said you're a great connector. You've made tons of connections in so many different verticals that if I don't know somebody, I'm like, oh shit, I'll text him. I bet he may know somebody there. If not, he can get me one step closer. One of those, and one of the questions I always get, because people know me and you're tight, are Tim and Billy Gibbons related?
At this point, we might be.
So can you tell a little bit of story about how Billy came into your life? And then I think the other thing too is people just don't realize for a guy that's been a rock star for 50 years, just how down to earth that dude is.
Oh yeah.
Like picking your kids up in car line. Like just how did you meet Billy? And then just kind of what's the Billy day to day? You know what I mean? Like just how cool he is just as a dude.
Yeah. Yeah. He is absolutely the coolest, most humble rock star there is. And, 2013, I was writing this song called This Beard Came Here to Party. I had a verse and a chorus. This beard came here to party. These boots came here to stomp. And a little bit going, and I walked in to get my beard trimmed in Nashville. And this gal in the
You
chair,
stopped doing that years ago. That must have been when you were trying to keep a real clean look.
I know. Anyway, so this gal sitting in the chair and says, "You look like ZZ Top." And I thought, boy, if I had a quarter for every time I heard that, I'd be a wealthy man. And she goes, "I know someone that knows ZZ Top." And I'm like, boy, funny if I had a quarter for every time I heard that. Richard. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep going here. And sure as shit, her name's Paula K. She went on to be my manager for a while. And she reached out to her friend that was a former record executive that had a lot to do with George Clinton and P-Funk back in the day, and knew Billy Gibbons. Tom Vickers is his name, and I like to shout him out anytime I can. And I watched Tales from the Tour Bus recently. That if you guys have not seen that animated series about touring, it's the most real shit ever, and it's Mike Judge that does Beavis and Butthead does it, but Tom Vickers is instrumental in George Clinton and P-Funk and all that stuff, which is really wild. Anyway. So Vickers gets the song. Vickers calls Billy Gibbons, who's oddly enough on tour with Kid Rock in the summer or the fall of 2013. No, I think it was summer because then we go on to the fall. And sends him the song. And he says, "I like that." And he goes, "Where is this guy?" And he goes, "He's in Nashville." And it was right around, I remember because it was around September 11th. It was like 10, 11, 12. We had the studio booked. And at that point, I didn't have a label. So I couldn't adjust studio dates. I got a deal on these days. Mm-hmm. So I couldn't line this up any better. This is divine intervention, if you will. And Billy had a day off coming from D.C. to Chattanooga with the bus stopping in Nashville on the day I'm in the studio. And he rolls in with his little red guitar. He allows me to film it. If you go watch this Beard Came Here to Party music video, that's all the first moment I ever laid eyes on my hero. And we sat there. We wrote the song. He leaves. I thought, man, if that's the first and last time I meet my hero, I'm grateful for it, right? I assumed it'd be the last time I ever see that guy.
Yeah.
And I was totally fine with it because I got to write with him. We got to hang out. We got to do the whole deal. But there was a different plan in play, and that was he went to dinner that night with the manager, Paula. And some guy walked up, Doug Frazier, and said, hey, man, I know what you do. Do you want to know what I do? And Billy's like, what? And he goes, well, I look for songs for sports teams. And he goes, right now we got this team called the Boston Red Sox that's growing their beards out, and they're trying to get in the World Series, and I need a facial hair song, and you're a guy with facial hair. And I shit you not, Billy had the CD in his suit jacket of the mix that day, pulls it out. Check this out. Dude goes home, listens to it, sends it to the Red Sox that night. The song is licensed in about 48 hours. It's not even mixed. It's not released. Nothing is done with this song, and it's licensed by a baseball franchise. And then they go on to win the World Series. And now I know about 30 to 40 days later, we are in the official Blu-ray with the president calling the coach. And then after that, it says the Spirit came here to party. Then USA Today comes out nationwide. And my sister and niece in Texas are like, Mommy, Timmy's on the cover of USA Today. And that kind of just concreted me in that camp. And then Billy Gibbons shortly thereafter said, hey, man, we're playing the Ryman and we don't have an opening band, the Grand Ole Opry House. And I was like, no, I remember crying. That was one of those where I started bawling. I was picking my kids up at that line in Nashville, started crying my eyes out because I was like, I'm playing the Ryman Auditorium with ZZ Top. And that started a relationship, and I've opened for them over 70 times around North America now. And then we started the hot sauce company, Whisker Bomb, right here. That's our old label. This is still available at HEB in Texas. And then we bought the Wise River Club recently. I'm just kidding. And we've just become business partners. And I don't have much of a father figure, never did in my life. And he doesn't have a son, so we kind of fill that void for each other. Yeah. And we have fun, man. It's a very organic, real relationship. And people
loves
always...
your kids.
Oh, loves
your kids.
Loves my kids. He sends gifts to my kids. He's picked them up at school. I mean, just shit. A couple weeks ago, River, my 3-year-old who just turned 3, is in Nashville with me because I knew I was leaving. I'm in the middle of a 42-day run right now where I'm not going to see my family, which that sucks. But so I had Danielle bring River down, and then I said, leave River, which was a terrible idea. I'm pretty sure she's with this terrorist organization known as Al-Qaeda. Dude, she's microwaving matches and candles, and I'm like, dude, stop destroying. Like, she's like making bombs in the house. I'm like, how do you know how to do this shit? Anyway, so Billy shows up, and River is a hard sell, right? Like, you have to win her over, and she only likes mom and dad. And if mom's there, she hates dad. She just likes mom, right? That's it. She is a hard sell. Billy just goes right to his cabinet, gets out a 4-pound piece of chocolate, opens it up and goes, here you go, River, here's chocolate. You want a 2-liter thing of Dr. Pepper? Opens it. And next thing I know, she's drinking this massive thing of Dr. Pepper, 4 pounds of chocolate, hugging on him. And I'm like, oh, that's how you win over a 3-year-old. Yeah.
Hey, Billy's first rodeo.
Oh, yeah. So then next thing I know, those two are just going in the back of the van. They're smelling each other's shoes, calling each other poopy pants. And Billy goes, I called my friends that when I was a kid. And he's like, you're a poopy pants. She's like, you're a poopy pants. And now they're both sugared up. And I got them out. And then we went to a guitar store, and across the street is a park. And it was the cutest thing I've ever seen. I put it on my story. Billy has her going down the slide, and he's catching her. And then he starts taking his shoes off. And he goes, I'm thinking about going down the slide. And I'm like, I don't want to tell you how to live your life, but you have a show with Leonard Skinner tomorrow in an arena. I don't know that you should go down a slide right now, but yeah, so he's just one of the sweetest, realest dudes you'll ever meet, business partner, one of my best buddies, and yeah.
A great guy. And I got to share a story that me and you had with him together. Pretty cool. I got into Nashville. I was just coming in the weekend to hang out. And you and Billy were recording at wherever that place is that Antique Archaeology is there in Nashville.
Yeah. What's that called, Tom? Marathon Motorworks Complex. Yep.
Yep. You guys were recording there in the back, and you said, hey, we'll probably be finished up by the time you get here, but there's a bar back there. We'll be in the bar. So I called you. You and Billy are in the bar, walk in. I'm like, oh, fuck, that's Billy Gibbons. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We hang out. I think we had a drink or two. Like, hey, let's go find something to eat. And just so happened that the National Barbecue Association was in town in Nashville and had a bunch of roads blocked off. And so we're driving around downtown. I think we were going to some taco place. Imagine that with Billy. He always wants to eat.
What do you want to eat tonight? Then he pauses. Everyone thinks. And he goes, how about tacos? You're like, why didn't you just say so?
But they had the street blocked off that we couldn't get to the taco place. and Billy had to pee really bad. Remember that?
Yeah.
And he's like, Tim, I'm just going to do it at this red light. And you're like, Billy, even you will get arrested in Nashville. You use the restroom at this red light. Like, let's just find somewhere to eat.
This ain't Wise River, old boy.
Yeah. He goes, well, just pull in here to the Palms.
And he said, they owe me a lot of money.
Yeah. And I'm like, but isn't this like a 3-week reservation to get in the Palms? And Billy's like, yeah, unless your face is on the wall. And I'm like, oh, okay. So literally, I remember us walking in, Tim. We walk into the Palms. This is like a Friday night at like 6:30. Like,
it was slammed.
Yeah. Like, I remember just scanning the whole place, and I'm like, there is not an empty table. Billy goes back to the bathroom, and she's like, oh, how can I help you, Mr. Gibbs? Like, I'm going to head to the bathroom, then we'll figure it all out. And so Billy gets back. How many do you need? And like, oh, well, 4. We may have 2 more. 6. Next thing you know, we start walking. There's an open table for 6 somehow. As we're walking to the table, me and Tim both notice. I notice just this guy kind of staring at Billy. Tim knows who it is. We get to the table.
Oh, he waves Billy over.
Yes.
And I saw one of my last heroes that I've never met in my life, and I fucking beelined for John Prine.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, thank you, Jesus. I just see this, hey, Billy. And Billy doesn't hear it, but I'm just like, that is John fucking Prine. Well, and I just bolt over there.
And I remember we get, it was cool. We go over there, talk to John Prine. I mean, I learned something about him the other night. I did not know that he originally wrote David Allan Coe. You don't have to call me darling.
Did he?
Yes.
Can you confirm that, Tom?
Yes.
I can. He was the co-writer on it, but he removed his name from it.
That's right. He did remove his name from it. Yeah. He took his name off. That's right. Okay. And Tom's our Jamie today.
Yeah.
Canadian Jamie.
Yeah. But so, you know, we get in there, we sit down, it's like, got to talk to John Prine, like, how cool is that? You know what I mean? And then we're sitting there having dinner, and I'll never forget, Myron Mixon walks out of the back.
Yep.
And Myron walks by, and I was like, hey, Myron, what's up? He's like, hey, Chad, what the fuck are you doing sitting next to Billy Gibbons? And I can't remember what Billy said. He said something super cute, like, well, I just hang around the best or something like that. And Myron's like, Chad's been feeding you a line of shit, da-da-da-da. And the best is Myron's like, can I get a picture with you, Billy? He's like, yeah, as long as Chad's in it. And me and Myron are great friends. Like, it was just funny. But the best was like 3 weeks later, I'm hosting a panel at the National Barbecue Association. And we're talking about, you know, different things. And Myron's on the panel. And I'm like, you know, so how's the fame of like barbecue pitmasters changed your life? This and that. He's like, well, I mean, it has. He's like, but I ain't hanging out at the Palms with Billy Gibbons. How's it changed your life?
Yeah, that night, dude, I was just sitting there between, Billy and John, and I'm just like, I just want these two to talk. And whenever I'm around iconic people like that, you shut up and let them talk.
Fucking thing
Don't
to
say a
them.
fucking word. Just listen. And those two just rap for a bit. And I'm so lost in the moment of John Prine and Billy Gibbons and what influential legends, but how different they are, what different walks of music they came from, right? And I remember at some point I like paused to breathe probably because I'm trying not to breathe. And I look around and I'm like, oh, there's like 4,000 cell phones in the air right now because everyone else in this room is like, is that John Prine and Billy Gibbons sitting together? So every phone in that building is in the air. And I'm just sitting there like, wow. And I think he was even drinking, John Prine has a song, one of his last records before he died was a vodka ginger ale and smoking a cigarette 10 miles long about when I get to heaven. I'm gonna drink vodka ginger ale. Anyway, I'm pretty sure he was drinking a vodka ginger ale, and I was like, all right, that's the only time I got to meet John Prine, and that was just perfect.
And then we lost him not too long after.
Yeah,
like
he died during COVID.
Yeah, that was the crazy thing. But like, just what a night, and just how cool it was. And the two things I learned that night too, and like total old school rock star fashion is, dude carries his own stationery.
Yep.
For an autograph.
Always.
And if you ask him for a selfie, he's taking it.
Yep, he told me he's really good at being famous because he's been famous longer than most people's famous dads have been famous. Yep. And he said it's not a problem when they ask for a photograph. It's a problem when they stop asking.
Yep.
So he's like, always accommodate. Yep. And the stationery came from when fans ask for autographs. ZZ Top missed a flight once because if you don't have something to sign to control that time, right? Then they're going to panic and try and find something, and all of a sudden this minute that could have been a minute becomes 10 minutes, and the fans getting freaked out and upset looking for something to sign. So Billy has a little signature pocket with a little Billy Gibbons thing, and he also does the selfies. He refuses to let other people hold the camera because he's better at it, because he does it 56 times a day or more. Yeah. So people always like, hey, I'll get the photo, and he'll snatch it out of their hands, and they're just like, ah. And he's like, line up this way. I'm on the right side. Everyone line to the left. Pretty lady in the middle. And now I find myself doing the same shit on accident just because I've watched him do it so many times. I always say pretty lady in the middle. Please, blah, blah, blah. It's pretty funny.
No, it's hilarious. But at the same time, man, like that was like that night at the Palms, it was almost like he had finished playing a show and was back at the merch tent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not that he does that, but like that's what the line was like, and just a steady flow of people. And dude, he treated the first person just as good as the last person. Like it was cool. And to all those people, that was like a lifetime memory. And the fact that he just does it so givingly, it's just an awesome dude.
Yeah, I've never seen him turn that stuff down.
All right, guys, proud sponsor of the show, 5-9 Whiskey. You will see me enjoying this from time to time during the podcast. It is delicious, smooth. I've shared it with a ton of friends, and all they want to know is, where can I get it? Built for the tradesman that's put in that long day's work, and when it's over, they want to sit down with a nice whiskey, enjoy those wins from the day, and get ready for the next one. Where can you get it? 5-9 Whiskey. That's spelled out, 59whiskey.com. Don't forget about the promo code, enter Old Boy Podcast for 15% off.
So.
And then the hot sauce company, I mean, it's not just a hot sauce company anymore. You guys have expanded into some sauces, some barbecue sauces, different things. How's that going?
It's going good. It's a pain in the ass. I mean, I'm the guy doing logistics on it. I fight with my wife a lot about it. I'm like, Danielle, you're from the consumer packaged goods business. You do this shit. She's like, I have 4 kids. I'm a VP of sales, bitch. Anyway. So there's that, but we're working on getting on Amazon right now, trying to get that side going. We have 2 barbecue sauces. We have a sweet heat barbecue. We have a Blanco, which is our take on an Alabama white. Which
delicious.
Both are. Yeah, and then we have 2 salsas as well. And so we have our pepper sauces are an H-E-B in the great state of Texas. I think we're in 200 stores there. We're in Murdoch's Farm and Ranch. That's 35 stores based in Montana. I actually met those guys through the Trollco event.
Absolutely.
Yeah, those guys were there. And then we're always at whiskerbomb.com, where you can see a version of me and Billy, the only version on the internet of him and I playing Have Mercy, Been Waiting for the Sauce All Day. And I'm like, oh, should I be changing the words to iconic? This is kind of blasphemy. And then I'm like, well, I'm with the guy that wrote it. We'll do it.
All right.
So
we got approval.
Yep, so that's been going good, and we're using that. We bought, as you know, the Wise River Club in Montana, iconic lodge, hunting lodge.
Yeah, talk a little bit about that. What a cool place. Got to be there New Year's Eve. We had a ball.
Yeah, it's a really special place, man. It's interesting. We didn't buy a business. We bought a legendary place, right? Yeah. So it's like you got to be really careful with that. You can't buy something that already is its own thing and come in with these ideas of what you're going to turn it into, because it's a thing. Right. And people's parents and grandparents and great grandparents have hung out there. So you can't come in with this mentality of, oh, this is my Wise River Club. No. We're just a blip on the history radar of this iconic building. We must keep it the same. We can add things to try and dial things in. You know, it needed a lot of repairs, but you have to be really careful with that kind of thing when you buy something that's iconic. Keep that
heritage.
Yes, the heritage, the history. So that's where I feel like Indiana Jones, I put it out there. I'm like, if anyone has any old photos, please tell me. I want to know the story, because that's one thing I saw was missing in there. A lot of pictures of snowmobiles and this and that, and it is a big snowmobile hub, but I'm like, where is the story of this building? This is so much more than that. Like, this goes back to the 1800s and the Patton-Gale flood of 1927. This was one of the only buildings to survive that flood, and let's get these pictures up. So I've been on that Canvas website. Boy, those guys should start sponsoring me, because I'm spending a lot of money there. Sorry, Billy. How many fucking Canvas prints have you ordered this month? 16, sir. But I'm getting all the old black and whites. I mean, cowboys used to tie their horses up, and then you got pictures of the Model A's and Model T's there back in the day. And then you go to the 40s and 50s and 60s and 70s, and it's just wild. And the Big Hole River is right behind the bar, which is a blue ribbon trout fishing river. And it's one of the only like all natural rivers in Montana. There's no dams that control it, which is interesting, because in the summertime when it gets hot, if that river gets low, it's the way the cookie crumbles, right?
Yep.
So we didn't have much of a winter this year. So we're hoping we can get some rain to have a good fishing season, but it's kicked off already. And we just hired a new chef, Aaron Laudenschlager will be there. He's a Army veteran from a military family. He's going to live on site. He's a really cool guy. My nephew, Jake Donaldson's the manager. And then my old buddy, Kyle Reif, man, finally found his spot.
That boy may travel the world 3 times over and over, but he somehow go find his way to Tim, Montana every time.
He's my 35-year-old son.
Yeah, we love Kyle Reif, though.
But he's holding down the music every Friday and Saturday. And it's not a thing. A lot of bands, I love it. Bands call me, try to negotiate and tell me how much their band is worth. I'm like, really, motherfucker? I've played a decade of my life for free around the world. So don't tell me how much your band is worth.
Yeah.
Right. So we're doing, we're trying to keep everything free, right? And we already have this cool thing where me and Billy have such a big Rolodex of friends that are all musicians. They want to come here and they don't want it to be a ticketed advertised event. They want it to be, hey, we're going to pull up. And my deal is if they're, of someone of some stature, we'll give them a free cabin, free food, free booze, get a picture here. If you feel like posting it, cool. If you don't, if you want to play one song, cool. If you want to play for 3 hours, cool. Yeah. If you don't want to play, cool. And more often than not, they're getting on stage. And we've already had Steve Trevino show up. Got a Netflix special. He packed that place on a Thursday night. I mean, and that place just roared with laughter. And hit songwriter Doug Johnson, CMA Songwriter of the Year for 3 Wooden Crosses, Randy Travis. And the crowd out there is just like, did this guy write these songs? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, why is he here? And I'm like, oh, buddy, just get ready. Like, I want that to be the thing there is where you never know who you'll see at the world famous Wise River Club. And it's been special. And I want to keep it that way. I don't want it to be a ticketed. I mean, certain events, New Year's Eve, we have to ticket because we have to know how many people are coming. Right. So.
But even that, too, that was really more just, hey, you ticketed for a meal. We know we've got room for this many people to sit down and eat.
Yeah, it was a very affordable ticket price. It covered our food costs. Nobody got rich there, that type of thing. But we just love building this. And again, a lot of people are like, Billy must be just your investor. I'm like, no, I'm on the phone with that guy 3 days a week. And his tour manager said, I was just with him in Skinnerd in Huntsville. And his tour manager goes, Jesus Christ, Tim. He's like, Gibbons is like, he'll just point at something and be like, bag it up, ship it to Wise River. And he's like, Billy, that's the hotel's lamp. He's just out there. So he's got Leonard Skinner signed guitars. He found this giant wooden Indian like the one right here, shipping that up. All this ZZ Top memorabilia. And he literally has 2 guitars signed by the entire band of Skinner. They're going to the Wise River Club. I mean, the shit that he's shipping up there in the neon. He found neon from the 80s, during the Eliminator era that say Miller Lite, ZZ Top. He's shipping all that up there. And it's just becoming really cool. And he loves it, man. If it were a new fancy joint, he's not in. But the fact that the stairs lean and the building's settled, like a 130-year-old building he loves that shit. And it's important for us to make it safe and preserve it, but to not make it fancy. If you want that experience, Bose Angeles, Montana is right down the road. You can go have your Aspen, Colorado, or go to Whitefish. I'm not hating on them, but that's where the fancy vacationers.
You won't come do old boy shit, come world famous Wise River Club.
Yeah, you want to do old boy shit, get that ass up here, you son bitch.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I'm ready to go.
Let's fucking pack it up. We're going to Wise River.
No, it's an awesome place. And I always, the last day we were there, to me, one of the funniest things was you were in the back, I think you had maybe ran up to the house or something, and I was sitting in the bar. We weren't even open, you know what I mean, with Michael and a couple of the guys, I think Jake. And this old boy walks in, dude, straight at cowboy getup, got the chaps on, fucking spurs, like, walks in, he's like, I'm looking for Tim, Montana. Late 60s, true ass cowboy. And I'm like, damn, dude, we about to have a damn draw right here. Like what's going on? I'm like, Jake, this is where you jump in, bud. This is what the general manager does. And as he's asking for you, like, he's closing in on us. Like, he's, taking a step here, step there. I'm like, God damn, man, we about to get into a shootout right here at the old world famous Wise River Club. I was going out to the hitching post seeing if he left his horse out there, but it was just a real ass cowboy. And all he was wanting to talk about was some rodeo that was coming to a nearby town, and
Oh yeah, they're coming in like crazy. And then Jake, the more press we get, Jake's like the amount of calls where someone will be like, "Yes, may I speak to Billy F. Gibbons, please?" They're just like, "Yes, he's very involved." No, he's not bartending today. But Billy wants to come up a couple times a year and just make an appearance. And same thing. I said, well, we'll try to figure out how to get the money right. And he's like, no, I want to make it a thing. I want to come up there. And he's like, Sammy Hagar did it at Cabo Wabo, and Kid Rock does it in his bar in Nashville. And I just want people to know that we care. We're going to show up. We're going to provide live music. And it's been Michael Ray came during New Year's, and it's funny because he probably did 2-hour sets before New Year's Eve, and the locals fell in love with him. That's the great thing too, is like if you come up there and do that, the locals are going to want to take you, show you their house, their man caves. There's a little Evel Knievel museum and a single wide trailer house down the road that Little Joe has. Joe Little, sorry, don't call him Little Joe. And then they'll want to take you on the river in the back country. I mean, it's really neat, the sense of community up there.
Oh, it totally is.
Yeah.
Totally is. No, it's super neat. And I'm super excited because it's just a fun place to be.
Did you hear the axe murderer story?
Yeah, you sent me the video.
Yeah.
But you got to tell it. That was legendary.
So everything we do gets pressed up there too. So there's some people in the valley that are like, oh, fucking damn it, hot shot buddies. But anyway, so
you're always gonna have that.
Kyle hears a knock on the door at like 11 p.m. last Tuesday, and it was a very aggressive knock at the hotel. And we're in the middle of nowhere. We're closed that day. So Kyle decides, I don't like that. So there's a knock at the door, and he decides not to go down there, and he tells Jake, and Jake goes, oh, let's look at the security camera. And Jake's eyes get all big, and Kyle goes, what? He goes, Kyle, it's scarier than you could ever imagine. And there's a dude pounding on the hotel door holding an axe. And then he goes and checks all the doors, and he's looking in the windows with an axe. So I'm on the road in Virginia Beach, happened to be with a bunch of SEALs and government agency guys that had a great time, and they left and said, if you ever need anything at all, you call us. The next morning I'm going, what do you fuckers think of this? And there was a vehicle that dropped the Axeman off. He all of a sudden starts checking all the doors, pounding on the windows, and like walks off, and the truck leaves. And they're like, that looks like intent. He was looking for someone, not something. If he was going to break in, he would have broke the window. He'd have robbed the place. He wanted someone to answer the door. Why the fuck does he have an axe? That looks like a murder or attempted robbery. Blah. So I sent it to a bunch of Nashville cop buddies. Same thing. I'm like, am I crazy or should I freak out? And they're like, freak the fuck out. Someone wanted to hurt somebody. So we get the sheriff involved. And then I've got a bunch of Navy SEAL intelligence guys looking into it. Then I got buddies in Washington, D.C. that were also out at the show looking into it, looking at these videos. I'm sending it around to everybody. I called everyone in the valley. Hey, I'm planning on having my wife and family leave Wise River until we figure out who the axe murderer is. So then I get a call that says, hey, the girl at the post office said that she went into the post office that morning and that guy was asleep in the lobby of the Little Wise River post office, our friend Grace, the postmaster. And that he said he was a trapper that got stuck up the road and walked 8 miles through wolf country and didn't have a gun, so he brought his axe in case the wolves tried to get him, and knocked on a door, and Penny Ruth up the byway opened her window, saw an axe man, startled her, and he said, hey, call my wife, verify it's good. I know Tim Montana. Take me to the Wise River Club. Turns out, this motherfucker I do know. He's been in every Western. I've done 3 Western movies, and he's been in all 3 Western movies. He's a mountain man, fur trapper, backcountry dude named Jake, who his thing is he carries an axe for a walking stick because he's a backcountry mountain man, and he was up trapping beaver, and his truck got stuck, and he said, brother, I had a real string of bad luck. He's also a Vietnam-era sniper. He's like, I had a real string of bad luck. My truck broke down. He goes, I had to walk 8 miles through wolf country and bear country, and they were howling real loud, so I had my axe handy and said, well, take me down to that Tim's Wise River Club, and the Wise River Club was locked. I checked all the doors. Apparently you guys were closed. He goes, real nice place, by the way. I really like it. So he goes, the wind was howling and it spit in snow and ice. And he goes, so I went to the post office, slept for the night, and had another cowboy buddy pick me up at the Mercantile in the morning as I had my coffee, and I headed down the road. He goes, but I ended up trapping 4 or 5 beaver, so it wasn't all bad. And I'm like, do I tell him that government agencies were trying to figure out who he is? I'm like, that was either an axe murderer or only that.
Yes.
Or and now the band is joking if we see someone that looks sketchy. We're like, oh, it's a fur trapper. It's okay. You're banging on the door with an axe in the middle of the night. Oh, it's a fur trapper. You jump a stranger in the middle of the night. It's a fur trapper. Why didn't you say so? Still, I'm just like, Jake, maybe you set the axe down before you bang on windows in the middle of the night. You know,
just from now on.
Yeah, he's just holding that fucker, just looking all scary.
That is hilarious.
Only in Wise River.
Oh, my gosh. So Wise River's something new. Another thing that's new.
Yeah.
Fuck country music. It's all rock and roll now.
I know. Isn't it weird? I moved to the most country place in the world and have a hard rock hit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Talk about that one time, that other weird shit you did.
But, coming off, you had your first song come out, last year on the rock side. Talk a little bit about that. I mean, Devil You Know, that's an awesome song. I remember you playing it for me whenever you had first kind of were starting to work on it and loved it. I think it's even better after, some of the little edits y'all made and released it. Talk a little bit about that ride, because that's you've gotten very adored by the rock community very, very quickly.
Yeah, it's wild, man. And it's interesting when all these guys are like, so you had this career in country music. And I'm like, well, kind of. Country music never let me in.
Yeah.
Right. So for them to suggest that is kind of I don't know. I don't get mad at who suggests that, but I'm just like, Nashville never let me in. I never got played on the radio once, like in that 17 years, because I was always too loud, too rowdy. I cuss too much. I'm too obnoxious. My hair's too long. My amps, blah, blah, all these reasons as to why I didn't fit the Nashville norm. And I think I had too much personality for them, too. There's probably that.
They wanted a guy that could just,
Yeah, fit the mold, right?
Yeah.
Just carry on and sing the song.
Stamp another one out.
Yep. So anyway, I didn't fit that mold. And then this opportunity came up for Wise River. So I said, you know what? Let's fucking get out of Nashville. I want my kids to grow up like I grew up. I grew up off the grid up there. Let's get back home. So I hightailed it to Montana, turned in a rock song. And the weird thing is, we didn't know the closing date on the Wise River Club. We get a call from the escrow company. It's August 30th. I get a call from my label thinking I'm getting dropped, and they said, we think you got a rock hit. You're going to radio. And I'm like, when? They're like, August 30th. And I'm like, what? God, what are you doing with plan A and plan B on the same day? And so August 30th was a pretty monumental day, 2023. We go to radio. We close on the Wise River Club. I'm living up there. And then iHeart has this program they rarely do called On the Verge. And they made me iHeart On the Verge artist. I remember people calling me at the label screaming, your life just changed. Holy shit. And that's like an automatic ad to all their radio stations. You become their featured artist. And that song, just like a rocket, shot up through the top 40 and ended up at number 5 for 3 weeks, top 5 Billboard rock hit.
Yeah.
And then got me on these tours. I'm doing most of the Danny Wimmer festivals this year, which is a huge. I mean, my old drummer Brian Wolf called me. He goes, "You're playing with Cypress Hill and Pantera," and I'm like, "Yeah, I know, it's weird, right?" But yeah, so we're on the Stain tour this year. Stain, Seether, Saint Asonia. Then we go right to Bush, Jerry Cantrell, and Candlebox.
No offense, for me, that's the one you're probably going to have to be like, Chad, you can't come to 4 shows in a row.
Right.
Because, dude, I mean, Bush, Alice in Chains, and
Candlebox.
I mean, dude, that's
everything I grew up listening to.
Yeah.
And they've been so cool. Like Bush's manager's reaching out and he's like, hey, Gavin wants you to send in a version of you singing Come Down. And I sent it in and they loved it. And they're collaborating on posts like Bush. I'm like, dude, I grew up listening to these people. This is wild. And my number one that I've not met yet is Jerry Cantrell. Because I know that his dad's a Vietnam vet. I know that he loves hunting and fishing. I read online that he missed opening for Van Halen one night because he was at elk camp. And I'm
That's
like,
an old boy.
Oh, Jerry Cantrell don't know it, buddy, but he's getting brought up to the Wise River Club one of these days. But so I am so excited about that.
Guys, it's Tim Montana. I mean, guess what? I'm on the Old Boy podcast with Old Boy Chad Ward, and you guys can go to whiskerbomb.com. Use the code OldBoyPodcast upon checkout to get 15% off. 15. That's wild. Whiskerbomb.com. It rhymes.
So it's pretty wild, man. Rock radio grabbed me, embraced me, and guys like Matt Pinfield, I grew up watching him on VH1 and MTV. He's become a massive champion. Chuck Armstrong at Town Square Media and Loudwire become massive champions. All these guys from iHeart to all the rock radio people. So it's been wild. Well, and they're thirsty for like new blood over there.
Personality.
If you think about it, like, rock used to have these characters, right? And
Ozzy Osbourne, dude, yeah.
So now I get to be the Dark Prince from rural Montana.
Yeah. But I do have to say, and not to, but I'll say this even not in front of you. Like, if you've never watched Tim perform live, I think that's a huge. I mean, you can listen to anybody's music, but you and the band, like y'all's live performances are so entertaining, and so you have a great mix of music and storytelling.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I feel like, that's, I watched you crush a crowd at the Villages the other day.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing.
Oh, yeah.
I've never seen so many 70 plus up out of their chair. No broke hips. You know what I mean? But in all seriousness, I mean, it's the way you guys play, the energy that you bring, and then the stories behind it. It's like, and I feel like that's why always, like, all the guys you've opened for in the past, some of those, it was like, man, I guarantee you half these people walked out Tim Montana fans just because I think, in our discussions, like, you look at it as, okay, I have this audience for 20, 30, 40 minutes, an hour. Like, I need to make sure as many of these get to see who I am and what we do.
Right.
And to me, you've always kept that approach. And I feel like now as the stages are getting bigger, I think that growth's only going to just go exponentially.
Yeah, and the new single goes to radio today. And the fact that I'm saying the words new single is like the label is grabbing another gear with me. And already they've had a ton of ads with the song Savage. Yeah. And they think we're going to have 4 charting singles on this. And I'm just like, this is wild. Remember that time I moved to rural Montana and exploded in the hard rock scene? Yeah. But it's interesting, and I tell people this, the creative freedom is there, right? Yes. In country, if you're not singing about certain things, you don't get played. Yeah. And it's politics. And very few people, I feel, are themselves in the country format. Because I know these dudes, and I hang out with them, and a lot of respect for them. But to get to where they're at on country radio, they had to change the way they did things. Their public image had to be different than who they really are. Yep. And there's very few guys. Chris Stapleton's kind of the biggest exception of, and if you look at it, he hasn't had that many country radio hits. Yep. Because he's singing about real shit. Yeah. Right? Yep. And it's just this weird formula. In rock, I can wake up depressed. Savage is about the end of the world. I talk about teen suicide and Get You Some and overcoming that. And I can say that shit without censoring it. And I can say fuck in the middle of a song. Yeah. And they're just like, yeah, it's creative freedom. I can write about whatever the fuck I want, from addiction to abuse, anything, and say it how I want. And it works. And I'm like, God, I feel like these chains are off of me from Nashville. And now I go to Nashville and I feel like I'm in prison. Yeah.
Well, I feel like, too, like, when you can sing and express your thoughts, your feelings like that, it's going to resonate and connect with people truly. It's real.
People are organic, authenticity cannot be purchased.
Yes.
Yep. And I'm really good at being authentic. Love me or hate me, you're going to get usually one guy. Yep. You might kick him out of hunting camp, or you might want him there every goddamn year. Yeah. Old boy Pardues.
They love us, old boy. But to me, I always felt like, in Nashville, you were kept on a leash. And I mean, that's exactly what you just explained. I mean, it's that easy, but it is, and fuck, dude, you're just happier. Just, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like I think that creative freedom has made you just feel freer as a person.
Yeah, it's like finally being accepted for who you are, you know, and not trying to mold and shift. And I don't want to talk too much shit about Nashville. That's where I learned to write songs. Yeah. And I feel like that's something that's 17 years of getting my ass kicked in the writer's room I can bring to the rock space and know how to forge my words correctly and my chords and get that right and do it aggressively and say what I want. And so now it's cool, man, because...
Do you find yourself writing more now than when you were...
Yeah. 100%. And the writes are faster. Yeah. It's not sitting there, someone going, hey, that won't work at country radio. It's now my select group of guys I like to work with that are like, let's follow him because he wants to tell his story. We'll jump in and add to that.
Yeah. So how fun has that been for them? Some of these guys that you worked with.
Oh, they love it.
To write a lot of Nashville type stuff, but now they get this. Yeah. It's got to be a great outlet for them too, right?
Yeah. And there's some guys that like don't fully comprehend that world because country music is very black and white. It needs to be this or that, right? Yeah. In rock, you can get to the end of the song and be like, I'm not really sure what this means. Does that make sense? And like, it doesn't matter because it'll make sense to somebody. Everybody perceives. And I hate the tell us what this song's about. I like that and I don't like that because when I was a kid, would listen to Nirvana songs and be like, it would mean something to me. And I'm glad I never found out what Kurt Cobain wrote it about because I don't want to know what he wrote it about. I know what it meant to me. And that's what rock and roll is. It's just like...
It's almost like, hey, I was just going through something in my life and this is the outcome of it. Because it could be something totally different that somebody else is going through life, but it still resonated that same way.
Right. I'm mosquito and albino, my libido or whatever. I'm like, what was he talking about? That was the drugs talking, old boy. If you scream it and make it sound cool, it's probably cool.
All right, one last story we got to tell before we wrap this up, because I know you got somewhere to be. Big rock star now.
Got to go to Disney World, bud.
I was trying to.
I keep sending my kids pictures. They're so pissed. I'm certain I'm going to be home. They're going to leave me because I'm just like, it's a small world after all. My River's dressed as a princess. She puts her eyebrows down like this and just glares.
So, how we came up with Old Boy Apparel.
Yeah.
So, I think it's a fun story. So, I was introduced to the term back when I was working at Publix, a guy by the name of Mike Smith. Mike Smith's now a senior VP at Publix, awesome dude, but he just always used the term old boy. I would use it when I worked for him. Then I got in the software business, and I kind of, nobody wants to, hey, old boy, let's get that contract signed. You know what I mean? Not the most professional angle. So I kind of closeted it for a while. I'd throw it up in conversation around my buddies, this and that. Then me and you started hanging out. And I believe it was Mr. Pardue.
Oh, the Pardues, man. I went to duck camp. They speak their own language in Stuttgart, Arkansas. You need a translator, especially when you bring some real Butte guys. When I brought Brad Smith and Rick there, they're
Brad
just
and Rick.
What the fuck did he just say to me? I'm like, it's a term of endearment. You're fine.
Yep.
Get in the truck is what he said. Shut up.
But so you start using the term old boy super loosely. And then I
start overusing it because I think it's funny.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, boy. You got to put that spin on it and screaming it. And I'm just like, because they say old boy like every other word. Half the time they don't even know what they're saying. It's just old boy this, old boy that, old boy, and old boy said that, and old boy, and old boy, old boy. So all of a sudden I'm like, old boy, old boy, old boy. What are we doing full sentences? And then I started rapping it with you, and we're just going back and forth. And then you get Traeger to catch on to the old boy culture.
Yeah, and then where me and you started talking about, well, should we do something with it? It was around Christmas several years ago. And I remember we had some friends make jokes about, hey, my wife's not letting me come hang out with y'all because for 4 days when I come back, I just say old boy all the time. We're like, right. Well, shit, maybe we have something here. You know what I mean? So me and Tim got very, very energetic and released one shirt and one hat.
Yep.
We sold them out, old boy.
That's right, old boy.
And then, just life happens. You're trying to launch a music career. I'm going all over the place cooking barbecue, this and that. It's like we didn't really have time to do anything with it.
Right.
And then, boom, we run across the call with the Trollco boys, Justin and Jason.
Yep.
And we were talking about some stuff. Maybe we could do a troll and this and that. And towards the end of the call, they're like, so what are you guys doing with Old Boy Apparel? And they were like, jack shit. Like, we're just trying to find time. Like, we love it.
We yell old boy every night. We don't know how to sell a t-shirt, though.
Yeah. We don't know how to sign them. Like,
right.
We were just like, they're like, well, we're pretty good at that. And so we go back and forth and we're talking and they kind of laid out a deal and I'm texting Tim and I'm like, if this isn't a joke, we'd be an idiot not to take this. Right. You know what I mean? And it was just, to me, one of those things that was cool about it was it showed how interested they were to work with us.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then, since then, now this podcast is launched out of it. We've got a full line over on Trollco, trollcoclothing.com that you can check out, which we'll be adding to. But it's a fun collection. It's fun to see guys wearing our stuff. I mean, that to me is one of the...
And everybody asks, too, like, what is an old boy? And there's no, like, definite answer to that. But I'll tell you this, if this makes any sense. When Chad and I communicate, if someone is fun and easy and cool or a hustler and hard worker, we just say, hey, this person's an old boy. And that's all you have to say. And that could be a girl, that could be a guy, no gender specific here. But it's like, it's just someone that's cool, right?
And that you want to hang around with.
And then that you want to be around. And if someone's a tight ass or we don't like them or they're a douchebag, we'll say they're not an old boy. FYI, you're going to meet this guy. Not old boy.
Not an old boy.
Not old boy material. But if someone's like us, it's just fun. You're not going to offend them. You can have a great time. They bring something to the table. That's old boy material.
They think fuck cancel culture.
Yeah, that's right. That's right, old boy. Fuck you, old boy.
Well, god dang, old boy, I'm trying to stay tight on this. I got 2 minutes left. Anything you would like to hit on the way out, old boy?
I got this sex tapes dropping. It's only 3 seconds. It's me and Tom. I'm a sucker for a foot pic. No, I think that's it. Come see us on tour. Come see us at the Wise River Club. Old boy Chad will be up there a lot too. So
I plan on it, man. It's that place there's something special up there, man. And just being able to get away and unplug and just enjoy the friggin' scenery, the people.
Yeah.
It's so nice to go sit down at that bar and put your phone in your pocket and just have what we used to do, just real conversation.
Yeah, there's no cell service. As soon as you leave the Wise River Club, we do have fiber internet, but the second you leave there, you're 12 miles till you get cell service, which I love. Yeah. I'm like, I can drive around, no phone calls. My manager hates it. I fucking love it.
No, for sure. And you guys can go over to timmontana.com, check out all the tour dates, tickets.
New record drops July 12th. It'll be my hard rock debut. You'll likely, when this drops, you'll be hearing Savage on the radio. Please request Savage at Rock Radio. And know the record's coming on the 12th, and we're excited. We're going to headbang.
How many songs on the record?
11.
11?
Yeah.
And you think you got 4 bangers on there, they say?
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of bangers on there.
A lot of bangers with 4 that are chart.
4 that they think could do something good at Rock Radio. So I just want to say thank you to Rock for embracing me this fast. I've been looking for a home, and I found it. So
yeah, I sure as hell think you did, man. Well, hey, thank you for making the time. I know this is in the middle of that first Florida swing, kind of kicking things off with Staying and the guys. So appreciate the hell out of you making the time. Love you, old boy.
Kiss me, you son of a bitch.
Mwah! See you guys. Later, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll catch you next week. Thank you so much for listening to the Old Boy Podcast. Please subscribe, like, set your notifications, whatever you got to do to make sure you're getting the latest episodes. Also, feel free to go back, whether it be YouTube, Spotify, Apple. Get some of the past episodes, check those out, and always feel free to check out our socials, Old Boy Podcast. Thank you so much.